𝐦𝐤 and the heroine's journey. Welcome back to another episode of Wild Feminine Magic. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the video. Many myths tell of the descent of a hero or heroine to an underworld, where initiation struggles must be faced before reascent can be achieved. The goddesses Inanna and Persephone both share this type of descent myth. These are metaphors for the crossing of the initiation threshold towards transformation, alchemy of the self on the path that Jung called individuation. What does Inanna learn from her sister 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐞? Some goddess scholars and authors consider 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐞 to be Lilith. In this case, what does Inanna learn from Lilith? Lilith was the first wife of Adam and her name is derived from the Sumerian queen of heaven, Lil, meaning air or storm, the dark wild side of Inanna. The name Lilith is also connected to owl, the sinister bird of prey that swoops, soundless in the darkness and is symbolic of all wisdom. In the biblical story, which is a distortion of Lilith's original story of primal power and sovereignty, she refuses to submit to Adam's authority. This sets up a conflict of power and she flies away from him. In the traditional Sumerian rites of sacred marriage, the two lovers are both considered sacred, holy and equal. The concept of the sacred marriage is found in Sumerian religion and royal ideology and is also found in comparative historical evidence from Assyriology, 1st and 2nd millennium love lyrics and rituals, biblical studies, the Song of Songs, classics, Greco-Roman philosophies, Chaldean oracles, Gnostic studies, Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, and Indology, Hindu rites and myths, as well as ancient Egyptian and Ugaritic evidence. The Sumerian sacred marriage is expressed in the Sumerian love song corpus, also known as the Dumuzi Inanna, DI, love songs. In addition to the love song corpus, there are also 2nd millennium literary texts and royal inscriptions referring to a marital relationship between the ruling king and Inanna/Ishtar. What constitutes the elements of the Sumerian sacred marriage are the actors of the marriage, and the timing and scene of the related ritual. These thematic elements and the concept of the soul in Mesopotamia are shared by the different traditions in other parts of the ancient world that embrace the netherworld and afterlife. And so, this ancient story of tantric royal partnership was all but deleted by the time the biblical story of Lilith and Adam emerged with its patriarchal concepts of power over another, control and domination of the feminine. In the book The Goddess, by Teresa Mori, she says, "It was Lilith whom medieval men feared coming to them in dreams to suck from their power, as Lilith embodies free, sexual and feral feminine energy. Her desire is individual and uncluttered by societal conventions and familial requirements. She is supremely creative because her inspiration is pure, undiluted by anyone's expectations. One of the gifts of Lilith is sexual experience that men's mind and body, opening a pathway to underworld mysterious treasures, sex at the period. The bleeding time is shamanic when mystical communion with the body and the inner wise wound make possible other levels of consciousness. Traditionally, shamans are wounded in some way and the wound serves as an opening to other dimensions. Their energy turns toward the magical child, the right Brian instinctual consciousness, the part that demands self-expression, not domestic devotion and procreation of a male line. When the Lilith archetype exists within a woman, that woman gets to explore her sexuality and power outside the boundaries of procreation. Menstruation offers women the opportunity to make conscious unaccessed areas of the subconscious mind. In human, sexual desire and receptiveness is not linked merely to procreation, but it is continuous. Thus, because of the monthly period, lasting partnerships with a whole spectrum of sexual behavior have become possible. Menstruation then can be honored and not forbidden. Women can explore pleasure and possibilities of an erotic, tantric relationship. Goddess worship shows us clearly that the gifts of the body are the way to the divine. Women lead this journey because she who carries the lamp of wisdom must go first. So in the context of Inanna descending at each of the gates and releasing an egoic attachment to her patriarchal identity and to the ordinary world, she arrives after 7 gates to the 8th gate or the final threshold, where she meets her dark sister, queen of the underworld, queen of the cycles of death and rebirth. Her descent is like a spiral or even a snake shedding its skin as the ego goes down into the unknown and surrenders to a power within. Inanna's descent becomes a healing quest to know herself fully and become whole. Her meeting with her sister changes from story to story depending on which time the tale was told. The themes of her underworld experience, however, are universal in that she learns of the equal royal marriage of 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐞 and 𝐦𝐨𝐬𝐤. She sheds her old survival story of patriarchal queen and patriarchal values. She comes to see her own marriage as superficial compared to the deep love bond shared between 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐞 and 𝐦𝐤𝐤. Inanna witnesses her sister's grief at the funeral of 𝐦𝐤𝐤 and her exile from the ordinary world. She is humbled and finally surrenders to the laws of the underworld, where like Odin before her, is hung on a hook for 9 nights while 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐞 screams in pain. This too is a metaphor for Inanna's surrender in hanging upside down like a bat in a cave, still and in total surrender of her previous perspective only to be reborn to another perspective that includes the mysteries she has learned in the underworld. We see this mother-daughter alchemy with the Demeter-Persephone myth in the Eleusinian mysteries and also with the Isis-Nephthys myth of the twin sisters making Osiris whole again after his soul was fragmented. And this is the ultimate lesson of the underworld journey. To become whole again with a new wisdom gained from the initiation of surrendering the ego. To liberate one's gifts trapped and hidden in the shadow and labeled forbidden. Jung explored the wild feminine's forbidden archetypes in great detail. Jungian analysts were heavily influenced by Jung's understanding of the sacred feminine in collective consciousness through symbolism, stories, dreams and the shadow material that lay hidden in the subconscious mind. From Marianne Woodman and Marie France to Anna Ulanov, the spectrum of the wild feminine archetype was explored through fairy tales, sacred prostitution, goddess scholarship and ancient megalithic goddess mythography. They understood that the dark feminine offered a descriptive roadmap through unconscious realms in the path of individuation and moving into wholeness. Anna Ulanov wrote about the dual aspects of the feminine function. One aspect is the unchanging and stable factor that fosters feelings of security, protection and acceptance. The other aspect of the feminine is transformative or dynamic. The transformative, active side of the feminine principle accents the dynamic elements of the psyche that urge change and transformation. This active side of the feminine is similar to the divine madness of the soul described on Plato's Phaedrus, which invokes primeval forces that take us out of the limitations and conventions of social norms and reasonable life. Eros in this sense produces ecstasy, a liberation from the conventions of the group. Ecstasy may range from a momentary being taken out of oneself to a profound enlargement of personality. That brings us to the end of today's video all about Jung and the heroine's journey. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to leave a thumbs up and to subscribe to Wild Feminine Magic for even more fascinating content, just like this. As always, thanks for watching. See you again soon in the next one.